Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we have two very special guests with us today, Damien and Caitlin from Adventures in Aurelia.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. We're glad to have you guys. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. Just got off work.
Yeah, pretty good. I took today as a recovery day after our long weekend, so I played hooky.
Cool.
Nice.
I've actually, my last week, I've only gone to work half of my work days. I had Halloween off, and then the following day I went in and they had extra people, so they asked if anyone wanted to leave. So I left after like 20 minutes. And then I had completely forgotten this coming week I have my next work day off. So in this week-long period, I will have only worked 2 days.
Oh, man.
So, Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just got past the weekend with the Extra Life.
Sure.
Just quite. You guys had trouble with the website, the Extra Life website.
They came out and admitted, or they put an email out that they were actually being DDoSed during Extra Life Game Day. So yeah,
That's
someone like the way they worded it was like pretty much, thanks you guys for sticking it out. Sorry that some people felt they needed to ruin our fun on this day that's about helping sick kids.
Right. Yeah. That's because I thought maybe that was what was happening, but like I was like, no one.
It wasn't just you.
Yeah. So because people weren't able to get on, and like our team roster kept disappearing. It was weird.
Oh yeah, like
But-
it just kept telling us your team doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yep.
So and then like I had my own technical issues on my end too. So didn't go very well, but whatever. Still raised a little bit of money. So.
Yeah. Damien and Caitlin, what games did you guys play?
All sorts of stuff.
Oh boy, yeah. We did some Pummel Party. We played this game Depth that we love, and we're pretty sure you guys liking Dead by Daylight would enjoy it as well.
Oh,
Okay.
that's the shark one, right?
It
The
is
shark one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did pick that up. I picked that up when it was on sale, but I haven't played it yet.
Is one person playing as the shark and everybody else is a swimmer?
Two people
Two
playing
people
as
are
a
a shark,
Oh.
and then four
Okay.
divers.
That sounds kind of cool.
We played some Minecraft mini games that were fun. One of our friends runs a Realm server, so we were
Cool,
able to do
cool.
that even though we weren't all here. And we had a battle royale with our main campaign characters, which
Oh yeah,
Damien set up a really interesting environment for it. I don't think it went exactly how he expected it to.
It never does.
No.
I'd seen a little bit of that going on, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Battle Royale D&D, combat. That's awesome.
Cool. So Jeff, I only caught the very end of yours, but what games did you play?
Well, we first tried Borderlands, but Borderlands keeps crashing on my computer.
Yeah.
Just in general. And then we were playing, I can't remember what we were playing. My goodness. I do remember we played Prop Hunt on Gary's Mod, if you're familiar at all.
Oh, I've heard of Prop Hunt.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you to everybody who showed up to Extra Life. Thank you to everybody who streamed for Extra Life, of course, Damien and Caitlin included. I guess, why don't you guys tell our listeners who you are and what your show is, and maybe how you got into tabletop gaming as a whole. I know, Damien, we had you on our show it was a while ago at this point.
I think we might be hitting the 2-year mark, actually.
Maybe.
Jeez.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was December, and I was supposed to come back earlier this year, and we just couldn't make the schedule work.
Possibly, yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for coming on again, and of course, Caitlin, thank you for joining us. So yeah, tell our listeners who you are and what sort of stuff you guys do.
We are we are part of Adventures in Aurelia. I'm the Dungeon Master. Caitlin is one of the players, and we are a 5th edition actual play podcast set in the homebrew world of Aurelia, which is something that I've created 3 years ago now, I think, is how long I've been working on the world and the show and everything. Mm-hmm. And I got into tabletop like 6 or 7 years ago. I'm a late bloomer in the tabletop area.
Sure.
As someone that's super geeky and probably should have gotten into D&D way earlier.
Yeah.
My Magic the Gathering group introduced me to Pathfinder. And then from Pathfinder, 5th edition came out. We started playing 5e. And then that gaming group went away because, adults, and we had a baby and life changed. And I still wanted to play. So we found friends that were willing to work around that schedule and come over here and deal with our crazy child. And they were willing to do a podcast with me.
Cool. Yeah, Adventures in Aurelia is one of the few actual play podcasts I do listen to. I actually haven't. I've fallen behind on a lot of podcasts in the last few months because I listen primarily at work, and I've had quite a bit of time off recently. So I haven't listened to your last, handful of episodes. But other than that, I've listened to every episode, and it's great. I love you guys. Love your guys' show.
Got a really good one coming up. It's
Cool.
not our regular show.
Is that the one you had teased on the Discord?
Our Halloween special?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. I'm excited about that one. Caitlin, did you get into D&D just from Damien?
Yeah. When we got together, he had just been getting into Pathfinder with his friend group. And that sort of fell apart when we had our son.
Sure.
And when I was pregnant, I watched a lot of Critical Role.
Okay.
When I was at work. And one of my coworkers had come up behind me and was like, "Hey, my boyfriend watches this." And so when Damien said that he wanted to see if we could find people to start our own game with, I was like, oh, I might know some people who are interested to it. So 2 of my coworkers and then one of their boyfriends joined us, and we started out recording. Like, I had the idea to record our session on my phone, just
Sure.
So that we could look back on it if we needed clarification or anything. And then it turned into the podcast. And
Well, cool. And the rest is history, I suppose.
and the rest is history. And now we've got 3 campaigns going with this group of 5 people.
Awesome. Well,
Which are recorded.
Yeah, 2 of which are the
and
show.
edited and take up my life.
One's just for fun.
I love this show.
cool. It sounds like you guys have a good time with it, and that's the important thing.
Yeah.
All right. You guys want to go ahead and get into the episode?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
That's good.
Shoot, I did not put work into coming up with an intro. You guys wake up and you're in the Dragon's Horde.
Oh, come on.
I mean, roll a d20 and tell me if you wake up in the Dragon's Horde. Someone roll a d20. Someone.
Here, give me.
In the handful of dice in front of me, I don't have a D20.
I got it. Oh, it's only a 3.
Oh, no. Maybe you don't.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, you have advantage. Oh, Jeff.
Oh, I rolled a 2.
Jeff got a 2.
Oh no!
Oh,
Together,
jeez.
it's
Damien,
a
can you
23.
save the group?
I got a 15.
All right. Okay. Well, so you, the 3 of you, have fallen into a supernatural slumber, and Jeff and Caitlin are both struggling in this nightmare world of evil and fog and
Darkness.
But Damien, holding up a magical D20, rescues the other 2 and escapes to the Dragon's Horde.
Wait,
There
were
we
we
go.
trying to get here?
I don't know.
Yeah, we were trying to find it.
Yes, sure.
Right, yes, we need to loot the Dragon's Horde.
Yeah.
All right. So, Damien, you have an item for today. Is that correct?
Yes, I finished up an item for today. The item that I am bringing to you guys is Forge Heart. Forge Heart is a legendary artifact created by the god of smithing and has been passed down through generations. This is for my world, so generations of the kings of Sterengeld, making it one of the key signs of leadership among the dwarves. In its standard form, it is a scale-covered longsword, +2, with dwarven runes engraved down the length of the blade, and a small smith's hammer functioning as the pommel. However, when a command word is spoken, the blade shrinks down and the smith's hammer increases to the size of a warhammer. The only change in this form is that Forge Heart deals bludgeoning damage instead of slashing damage. Another command word can be spoken, causing Forge Heart to glow a deep red as if it has been stoked in a forge. It deals an extra 1d6 fire damage in this form. An attuned wielder is unharmed by the red-hot glow of this form. Forge Heart also allows the wielder to cast spells that may prove useful to a blacksmith. Each spell is cast at a 4th level and consume 2 of its 5 charges. These charges reset every dawn. The spells granted by the sword are Heat Metal, Fire Shield, and Wall of Fire.
There you go. That's really cool. I very much I love that item. I love the theming of it. I love that it is tied to your world's backstory. I love the idea of it being like a symbol of the ruler.
Right, yeah.
And I love all the abilities it has. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. I always like the aesthetic of like blacksmiths and stuff like that in D&D. So like a blacksmith hammer as a weapon is always a fun image to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is just it's V1 pretty much because I've got some tweaking I still want to do to it. Like one of the things that I realized while working on it today is that I gave it 5 charges, and each spell that it can use uses 2 charges. You're never going to be able to use all the charges.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was like they wouldn't recharge completely. Like, so like if you got that one left over and you roll to see how many charges, come back the next day, you might get an even number the next time or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might just increase it because it is supposed to be an artifact level.
Yeah.
Item.
Or even, I would say if everything costs 2 charges, just reduce the number of charges and make it
4.
Well, I was going to say, like, have it be, it has 2 charges and everything takes 1 charge.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you can think of there being a benefit to having, like, if there are some things that cost 1 charge and some that cost 2, I could understand that. But having everything be costing 2 charges, I think, is unnecessary.
I could see it that way, yeah.
Yeah. I love weapons that transform from one weapon to another.
Yeah.
I think that is, and I really like how in your description you said that the sword has a hammer as the pommel, and then when it transforms, it's just that the pommel gets bigger and the sword gets smaller.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I had a character back in 3.5 that like eventually had a weapon that could turn into any weapon.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with that. So like, yeah, weapons that transform are just inherently cool.
Yeah, they're awesome. I love them.
Yeah, you can always handle any resistance if it transforms.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If you want to take out some undead.
Yeah. Damien, have you played Bloodborne?
I have not.
It is, for anybody who's not familiar, Bloodborne is it's a third-person action RPG from the guys that made Dark Souls. It's from, a lot of people consider it to be in the same series, I guess.
Spiritual successor or something.
Sure, yeah. But in that, all of the weapons that you get transform in some way, and there is actually one weapon that it's a longsword, but you carry the sheath on your back because the sheath is a giant stone hammer, basically. And the way that it transforms is you stick it in the sheath and then you pull it back around, and now you have a sword with a giant hammer on the end.
Okay, so it's kind of like a cane sword, only the cane part is a giant hammer.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. So in a similar way, it is also a sword that can become a hammer, but in a thematically quite different way.
Yeah, that one's less magical.
Sure. Yeah. So what was this item called again?
This item was called Forge Heart. And at some point, possibly by the time this episode releases, I will have made it public on D&D Beyond, and people can find and add it there. Oh, cool. And then get any of the updates that I do to it when I retweak it and balance it.
Cool, yeah. Awesome. I hope people do, because, yeah, like I said, I think that's a really cool item.
Yeah, any items that I make, once I am okay with them being known to the public, I normally make them public on D&D Beyond.
Sure. Well, cool. I hope people use it because, I've seen some of the other items. You've submitted some items in the past, and they've all been really cool. And I love that you've been putting them on D&D Beyond so other people can find them and use them in their own games. Well, I think that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Hoard, or if they had questions to discuss, or if they had stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com, or they can join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And Damien, if anybody wanted to listen to Adventures in Aurelia, how would they find that?
If you go to Adventures in Aurelia, that's ERYLIA.com, then you'll see some buttons at the top of the page that you can listen to shows when I remember to put them up as a blog post, or the subscribe link. The subscribe button will take you to numerous different places that you can subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app of choice. Cool. If we're not there, tell us and we'll get there.
There you go. All right. And is there, are there any other projects you're working on that you'd like to tell anybody about?
Kind of like not really related to the show, but semi-related because of the people involved. We have been doing a regular stream Tuesday nights at starting around 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. Caitlin, one of our players, Chantel, and I have been streaming co-op State of Decay 2.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
And trying to work in some streaming into the things we do, because it gives me times and reasons to play video games.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we go any further, we have a giveaway this week. We're giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, which is a 5th edition adventure module from Goblin Stone. Goblin Stone is a group of content creators based in the UK, and they've made this great adventure as well as many others. So, Jeff, who is our winner today?
our winner today is Max R.
Winner! Gobble, gobble, gobble! Yes, congratulations, Max R. You should be getting that in your email within the next few days. If you haven't gotten it in the next few days, let us know. It's probably in your spam folder, but they might be running a bit late as well. And, Jeff, if anybody wanted to join Max and enter this drawing, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
That's correct. All right. And then I also want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for supporting us and everything. We have a Patreon campaign at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Patreon is an online platform you can pledge to donate to a creator of your choice, such as us or Adventures in Aurelia. And in return, you get some bonus stuff on some sort of regular schedule. We have outtakes. We've got bonus episodes. We've got a monthly Roll20 game that we're going to try to set up pretty soon. So go check out patreon.com/InterPartyConflict and see if anything appeals to you so you can help out the show and get some cool stuff in return. And then just one more thing before we get into the meat of the episode. We've got some other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. You should check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Go and check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They are an actual play podcast on the network as well. And also check out D&D Character Lab. Garen and Dan made characters every week and pitted them against each other. They are done making episodes, but their old episodes are still there for you to listen to. And of course, check out Adventures in Aurelia. They are a great podcast, and we are very happy to have Damien and Caitlin on our show today.
Well, thanks you for having us.
I just have one little addendum.
Yep.
Garen and Dan may be done with their show, but Garen has started up a new show.
Oh.
And they're just little like minute-long episodes. It's called D&D One Word at a Time. And it's just his little humor. He's created a character that's like satirically going over D&D one word at a time. So one episode was dungeons, one episode was one episode was dragons, and he like his definition of it.
Well, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I think he's got 8 episodes out now, but it's like it less than a minute long each.
So. Okay, awesome.
Wait, so it's 8. He's got 8 episodes. What is the 4th word?
He's done party, race. Okay. So, but
I gotcha.
His first few were Dungeons and Dragons, and now he's getting into other stuff.
Okay.
Maybe he just looped back around to Dungeons again.
Yeah.
Or I was like,
it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that popped into my head is like, okay, he's like, you're like reading the player's handbook, but each word is an episode of a podcast.
When he first pitched it, I thought that's what it was going to end up being.
I was like,
that's just the type of humor that he has.
Sure.
But no, he if you've seen any of the material that he's created for like third-party material, his like Jamae Jr.'s magical mounts and stuff like that. Like he likes creating little characters that have backstories that go along with his material. So this
Yeah, like
one,
Wombo's Guide to Combos.
yeah. So he likes to make the little characters, and so this one is one of those little guys that he's come up with, and his take
awesome.
on definitions for the game.
He's
cool.
still making characters.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
And pitting them against the world.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, Jeff, let's get into some questions.
Sure. All right. Our first question comes from Gabe
Who's that guy?
on
Gabe.
Gabe?
Gabe on Gabe.
Okay. Instead of posting it on Reddit or Facebook,
I went to my private app, which is just for me.
it's just Gabe.
Just me.
Well, anyway, Gabe asks, what's some advice you can give for when your significant other is part of your gaming group?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, you hush.
Yeah, so this is mainly directed at Caitlin and Damien. What's some advice you can give for when your significant other is part of the gaming group?
And do we need to separate you two to get each other's answers?
Oh, well, that's funny because there's currently a moving blanket set up in between us, so we can't see each other. And also to cut down on echo.
Yes.
But
Since we started
yeah.
streaming, we set this up to try and cut the echo out.
but now I can't glare at him.
And
Still have that sense of it, though.
Yeah.
You can still tell.
usually. But I feel like one of the big things with this question is that power dynamic, especially considering our group. I am the DM for the group, and I technically DM 2 campaigns that Caitlin is in, even though it's the same groups of people, just with different characters.
Sure.
And coming mostly from the DM side of things, I feel like one of the biggest things is treat your significant other just like any other person in your group. Like, I know Caitlin can comment a little bit on what are my reactions usually when you ask me about things in the campaign that you don't know about.
Yeah, that was going to be the one thing I brought up is I'll constantly ask him, like, if he hints to something that we missed, I'll ask him about it afterwards. And he's like, why? No, I'm not going to tell you. You're nothing special. Like,
Oh, no.
like, and it makes it really hard to not try and metagame. Especially if he leaves his notes out on the desks. It's really tempting to go and just read through them. But I don't, because that would be unfair. And if it is something that, like, I ask him about and he is willing to tell me, then we usually immediately will get into our Discord server, and, like, the information gets shared with the entire group. So
Sure,
it's
okay,
not
sure.
just something that I'm getting to know because I happen to live with the DM.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. That's a good. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing to note to know to do.
Yeah, because we want to keep it fair. Like, there's stuff that he has talked about with other players that's specific to their character that I don't get to know about just because I'm his wife. You know, I'm still one of the players, so
Yeah,
still keeping secrets.
there exist player secrets and files away on my computer that she has no idea about, to the point that she doesn't even know which player might have a certain secret.
Yeah.
But then he keeps it really fair. Like, I don't get any sort of special treatment or anything when we are playing. Like, if anything, he might go a little harder on on my characters because I don't like to create backstories. So he'll, like, throw role play opportunities at me that force me to come up with a backstory.
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that in some aspects, it's almost that I am harder on her because she's my wife, and to, make it obvious that I am not trying to treat her unfairly in a positive sense. She definitely has had some things thrown at her that are a mix of, I'm doing this as a way to show that I'm not elevating you above the rest of the players, but also, I'm doing this because you're my wife and I know you can handle it.
Sure. I would actually feel like, I mean, I've never really played a game with a significant other. I think a long time ago, back before I even had met my wife, I think I ran a couple sessions for I think the girl I was dating at the time was in a couple sessions of a game I ran. I can't remember for sure if she and I were dating at the time, but so I don't really personally have much experience with this myself, but I feel like it would be, if I did, I feel like probably the inclination would be to be extra unfair to the person that I am in a relationship with, specifically to not give them beneficial treatment. I would probably inadvertently give them detrimental treatment.
Yeah, it's overcompensating for trying not to look like you're favoring them.
Yeah.
So like the couple times that I've DM'd, Skylar has been in the group, and like the second I look at her and I'm like, all right, I have to do an interaction with her. Shoot, I don't want to look like I'm favoring her.
Hey Skylar, you take 8 points of damage.
Right, yeah.
Oh, what? We're not even in combat. Sorry, the dice. I just rolled the dice.
It just happened. I don't know what happened. I'm like, I have to have that conversation with myself. I'm like, right, don't look like you're favoring her, even though she's the prettiest one there.
But, the only reason we have to talk about anything like this is because there exist out there on the internet those horror stories of the DM whose girlfriend is in the game and, they're level 1s, but she's decked out in +3 everything and has all the magic items. And, I don't think I've ever seen you get attacked, even though you've got all the gear.
Right.
Yeah, if anything, it's the opposite. Like when I just started the most recent character that I've been playing, she joined the party after being on a boat for like 6 years or something. And I wanted her to have a pet rat. Just because there's rats on ships.
I love pet rats.
I do too. And he won't let me be. He's like, you don't have a familiar. Like, no, flavor rat. It's a flavor
just have
rat.
A rat. Yeah. One of the like equipment packets. I don't know what they're referred to.
Oh yeah, I know that the urchin background.
Oh, that's the
starts
one,
out with a pet rat.
Yeah. The urchin background just has a pet rat or pet mouse or something like that.
Yeah.
It does. It's not. There's no stats or anything. You just have a mouse.
Well, Damien, I'm shaking my head at you. You should have let her have a pet rat.
It's in the book.
Evidently, she chose the wrong background.
Okay. I can understand that.
I'm still determined to find a pet rat.
Yeah. There was actually, back when I first started listening to podcasts, and one of the first actual plays I ever listened to was a podcast called Dicey Tales. I have actually very much soured on my opinion of them since then.
That's
due to
unfortunate.
some stuff. But at the time when I was listening to them, I emailed back and forth with the DM a couple times, and there were some early episodes where the DM and one of the players were married, similar to you two, and there was an episode where the DM's wife's character, every time she would like make a suggestion for like what they should do, the DM would kind of like shoot down the idea, and I could tell that the player was getting really frustrated. And they actually had a side podcast at the time where that player was complaining about, she thought that it was because she was a woman, and so she was getting unfairly treated for those types of reasons. And I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know if that was the case or not. But to me as a listener, it sounded more like, well, no, it's just that I think he's very much overcompensating for not giving her preferential treatment. So as a result, his natural reaction might have been to just shut down whatever she was doing unintentionally. Yeah. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know if that's the case, but that's how it read to me. But that's made me realize, like, oh, if I ever were to play a game with my wife, I would want to try not to do that, not to give her preferential or detrimental treatment.
Yeah, and like the way that you interact with your significant other can sometimes tread that line of like, like, are you pandering or are you you don't want to be disrespectful, but at the same time you want to make sure that you're not coming off as acting on favoritism or anything.
Sure. I don't think I'm ever in danger of that. I'm pretty sure my wife will never play D&D.
She will never, ever, ever play D&D. Not even as a joke. She
I have
won't
even
do it.
tried to be like, hey, let's play this thing that's not D&D, but like sort of, like to test the waters. And no. She can always tell what I'm trying to do, and she always just says no.
If she gets just the slightest whiff of nerdy anything, she's just like, nope, no part of it.
I guess, hey, whatever. I'm not gonna stress over it.
Like you could sugarcoat a tabletop game all you want. She ain't having it.
Yeah.
Have you looked into the My Little Pony one?
I don't think she would like that either. I don't think she's into My Little Pony.
For anything she could be into, there's got to be a game for her.
But she'll like out of spite. She'll like the second she understands that this is just a nerd thing.
Yeah.
You could tailor make this for her, and she'll just be like, "Oh no, Gabe's just trying to get me to do a nerdy thing."
She would find some way to derail it if it happened.
Oh, this is a game. I'm out.
Suddenly the game is about our dog? What?
You just got to make it all about super hands, and it'll be fun.
I guess. If you guys ever are on the DM's Guild and you see Super Hands Great Dane RPG, I think you'll know what to expect.
It's just a game where you pet a dog.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to comment on when you were talking about that other show, and the way it seemed like he was shooting down the woman because of being his wife.
Sure.
That is one of the things that, and I've utilized it outside of just Caitlin, but that's one of the things that I've tried, that I have worked on learning when I'm running the game with her is Caitlin will admit that she is one of the more soft-spoken role players in the group. It takes her a little bit more to get into it.
I prefer combat.
And with her and with others in the group, I have tried to make myself a lot more cognizant that if I feel like an idea is being shot down, to make sure to point out that it's possible to do things without the rest of the group if you want, or to try and make sure that every voice is heard. Like, especially since we're doing it as a podcast, I cut out a lot of that, but there are times that I have to stop the whole game and just be like, okay, can everyone just lay out what their idea is out of character so we know which one, like, where to push things to?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea, actually. Just like be like, all right, pause. All right, what is your idea? Because there's a lot of a lot of arguing as to like what should be done next, and you get to those moments where it's like people are arguing over how to open a door. When it's when it's like, okay, let's just everyone say your idea clearly, and then we can decide where to go from there, rather than trying to argue it in character because it's going nowhere.
Sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've also, and I don't want to dive into it too far just because they're not around to hear it, but one of the things I have to keep in mind with our group is not only is my wife a part of the gaming group, part of our podcast group involves 2 players that are engaged to one another. So not only is there me playing with a significant other, but I also have a group of significant others as part of the group, and trying to make sure that doesn't bleed into the game. So kind of further advice, since the person asking was wondering, I don't know how Gabe came up with this question. Right. He's admitted that his significant other won't be a part of the group.
Yeah. And I mean, like I've listened to podcasts of people that are in relationships with other people in the group, or like I've read stories and such, and it's not always the DM and a player. It is very often just 2 players. And even then it is important to remember that whatever you may have been arguing about before you started the session shouldn't bleed into the session.
And that's where I was going with that, is to, like, as far as advice goes, to basically, when a lot of it for me is I try and keep people more into their characters, especially since we are doing a show, that when you're around the table, try not to be the couple, be your individual players, and by and large, going for don't bring your relationship into the game, and try not to bring the game into a relationship, because you don't want to have an argument that started in the game end up becoming an argument on the way home.
Sure. Yeah.
And thankfully for our group, we usually have a bit of a cool down after we are done playing. Sometimes the mics are on, sometimes we end up turning the mics off, but there's almost always a good 15 minutes, half an hour after we wrap up for everyone to kind of pull back out of that game mode, especially since I try and call it high stakes, but it might be more of just trying to go for a realism feel to our campaign. So there are definitely times where things get tense.
Sure.
Yeah, but you're trying to put on a show too, so you guys are trying to get into it as best you can.
Mm-hmm. Something you said made me think of. There have even been times where if there's somebody that I'm playing D&D with, where I've been just friends with that person before we started playing D&D together, and they did something in the game that made me frustrated, I would have to make a conscious effort not to conflate the two. Not Jeff or anything. I mean, Jeff is right here, is giving me a look. Maybe just there have been times where I've been playing with someone that I've already been friends with, and then I'm getting frustrated with them because of what they did in the game, and then that's made me irritated with them outside of the game, and that's a bad idea. Well, whatever your relationship with someone, whether they are your significant other or just a friend you are friends with outside of the game, try to leave game stuff at the table and try to leave out of game stuff out of the game.
And at the very least, if you do need to bring in-game stuff out of the game, give it a couple days. Don't.
Sure.
It's almost like giving relationship advice. You don't want to try and tackle a problem shortly after an argument. You want to give it a little time to cool off.
Yeah. I feel like when we first started the podcast, at times I sort of thought of it as a relationship advice podcast to a very, very small extent, just a very specific type of relationship.
The relationship just isn't romantic. It's friendship, friendship relationships.
Yeah, relationship between players and DMs and such. Yeah.
Because I think when we first started this show, I think in my head the intention was going to be more about dealing with problem players and such, and a lot of that advice is really just general relationship advice. But being question based, a lot of the questions we get in are about less relationship based stuff and more about game and idea and such.
How do I make my game better?
Yeah, and I mean, and I kind of like that better as a direction to take the show than just dealing with problem people.
Yeah, to take the problem player out to dinner. Show them a good time,
I guess.
Maybe a movie.
It's a different type of problem, Jeff.
If it went down like that, I feel like I'd be a problem player more often. If my DM would try to take me out to dinner just to kind of talk to me about the problem.
I'm not going to do that, Jeff.
No,
just so you know,
it's just like a pizza or something. It's like, oh, what's wrong, Gabe? You think, oh, am I hogging the spotlight? Well, maybe we could talk about it over pizza.
I don't like where this is going.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yes.
How did we end up here?
Yeah, that's
how are we at this pizza place? Why is there a candle here? Music.
Oh, goodness. Let's move on from this.
Why are you kneeling? Are you tying your shoe? Gabe, oh my.
Veto. Do you guys have anything else about this question?
Especially going player to DM, do you have any advice that you might have for being in a group with this kind of dynamic?
I guess the only other thing is that it relies on your the rest of the people in the group to not jumping to the conclusion that you are getting preferential treatment.
Sure.
It may just be your turn to be in the spotlight, and next time it'll get to be one of the other players. So it's finding a balance where you're not getting treated poorly just to make up for being in a relationship with the DM or anything like that.
Sure.
Yeah,
just always try not to point fingers when, the answer is very likely just coincidence or
right.
I would just say try not to assume that the problem is nepotism or
Okay.
don't ascribe to malice what can easily be described with stupidity.
There we go.
Sure. I mean, okay. You know,
To an extent, don't assume malice is kind of the part that I was aiming for.
sure, yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Sure.
But stupidity also is kind of insulting for talking about
yeah. Well,
relationships.
I mean, hey, relationships are kind of an intentional stupidity in regards to
Right.
a lot of things.
Like I feel like stupidity's not the right word, but I understand
if stupidity
idea.
had less negative of a connotation.
Sure. Because it's like, well, because I'm trying not to favor Skylar in this adventure, but in doing so, might be making it harder on her. But it's like it's a thing you have to consciously be doing. So like you're gonna screw it up.
Sure.
Like
Well,
it's not gonna be perfect. So so then everybody else should try to understand that and be like, okay, give the DM or whoever the benefit of the doubt until it becomes, unless it's like obvious, oh, they are favoring them or
Sure.
so, just
Well, especially because the way that she was talking about it is because, you can't always be negative to Skylar in that case. She does need her time in the spotlight just like
Yeah.
everyone else does.
exactly.
Otherwise, you probably aren't going to be playing with her too long.
Right.
Right.
It's like, yeah, like I want to make sure she's still having fun because she's a player.
Yeah,
You know, so
I don't want to go to game night anymore. You just kind of you're not kind to me.
You started calling me names. No, that's the name of your character. Our next question comes from Itchy Wolf.
Ickchy Wolf.
Itchy Wolf. It's an Itchy Wolf. This was on Reddit. How do you define a campaign?
Yeah. So how would you define what is a campaign?
Yeah.
Is a campaign just a series of adventures? Is it a world? How would you define it?
Oh boy, that's one of those questions that can have a very clear definition, but can also be a very broad question as well.
Sure.
Because like for me in our show, I call it we run two campaigns within the same world.
Sure.
And I guess for me, when I'm describing campaign in that sense, it is that it's two set groups of adventurers, essentially. In our show, the storyline's not really defined, but they kind of each have their own individual stories. Like, to describe it a little bit for listeners of your show that may not be familiar with our show,
Sure.
what we run are the Aurelian Epic and what is currently known as the Miavet story. And that is to kind of differentiate. We have our epic campaign that is supposed to be world-reaching as it
bigger and more
develops.
grandiose.
And their thing so far has all been tied to the continent they're on is Saval, and it's tied to Saval's Guild of Adventurers. And they're just now starting to scratch the surface, and some of the players are starting to realize what's going on with the reemergence of dragons through things that they are discovering in the world. So like in this one, it's a big overarching campaign that ultimately end goal is like it's world spanning, potentially cataclysmic sort of deal.
Sure.
But then on the opposite side of that, we have our Miavet story, which I say it's currently called the Miavet story because it started off in the grand city of Miavet, and instead of these like epic hero characters, it was a bunch of people that were broken out of a jail cell together, and their campaign has actually become tied to one NPC named Cassian and his organization, of which they don't even really know what his organization is or how they're going to factor into it. So it's kind of that they have a story that it's a larger story that is cohesive, I guess is where I'm going with it.
Sure. I always liked the difference in scope between the two because like one of them is, definitely dealing with things that are like world affecting with the dragons and the gods and such. And then the other one is much more focused on just like this one specific group and them, what happens after they got free from prison and such. So yeah, like defining a campaign is my personal definition. I would say whatever you call a campaign, that's a campaign. Because, you could get into the idea of, well, you could tie it to a story involving a specific set of characters, but then what if over time all of those characters die and are replaced with other characters? Is it still the same campaign? Well, okay, maybe you could say it's about this one specific story, but a campaign can span multiple stories. You might finish, the same group of characters might finish one story and then move on to another one. Mm-hmm. I would still say that's the same campaign. You might have a character go from one campaign to the other. You might have some world details and plot details that bleed over from one campaign to another. But at that point, where does one campaign end and the other begins? Yeah. So I kind of feel like whatever you say, this is a campaign, that's a campaign. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I meant, that this is a question that could have a very set defined answer or be very broad in scope. And I'm kind of, as you mentioned, that whole moving campaigns that's an interesting thing that is currently an inevitability in our own show that I'm not sure how to handle, is eventually our campaigns are kind of going to cross.
I mean, that sounds really cool.
I'm looking forward to how he's going to pull that off.
I don't know.
I just hope that there's
Fireball?
A point where I hope there's a point where the characters open a door and on the other side are the other group of characters. Yeah. And then you end the session with them just kind of staring off.
Right. You pull a curtain and there's actual bizarro yous at another table recording the other podcast.
There you go.
It's wait
this
a minute.
This whole time the Miavet story was another group in Aurelia playing D&D.
I mean, that would be kind of cool. A world within a world.
Campaignception.
Oh, no. Jeff, do you have an answer for how you define a campaign?
I guess I'm thinking more just sort of technical, which is just when you get a group of people together to play a tabletop adventure game, and it's basically until from the moment you sit down to make characters till the time that the person says I can't come to the game anymore, and the group breaks up, because that's how they all end.
Sure. It's very bleak, but not inaccurate.
Yeah, that is a campaign. It's you're playing. You're doing you're on adventures.
So the pain in campaign is the pain that you feel,
the pain of loss. Yeah,
the previous storyline has been discarded.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It all starts you all start in a campfire. So you all start at a camp, and then there's pain at the end.
I almost kind of feel like whenever you sit down to make characters, that marks the beginning of a campaign.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So when you sit down to make characters, or session 0 or whatever, it's and then to whenever the group breaks up or whatever. So I don't know, just sort of a campaign is when it's just a, it's I don't know, it's a campaign.
I guess it's one of those undefinable things.
It's a series of gaming sessions.
I guess the dictionary definition would be a series of gaming sessions that all connect together into one whole.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a less interesting answer, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, and let's just ignore the fact that West Marches exist for this question.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
West Marches, also commonly known as hex crawl campaigns, but they're a lot more drop in, drop out, and large worlds that try and have almost episodic sessions.
I mean, that sounds like a neat idea. I almost feel like it's a different game if you try to lean away from having a campaign, but it's a game that I am interested in.
Yeah.
Where the game is less about the big overarching story and more about, we're here today, let's play one session and have a good time. We'll worry about next week.
Yeah. The little bit of world building I've been trying to do to run a campaign or whatever, I've been thinking more along the lines of episodic or whatever.
Sure.
Because I want to do a thing where it's a seafaring adventure where it's just islands, and you just all right, today we're at this island and here's an adventure.
Yeah.
And then the next time we get together for a session, we'll be at a different island. Who knows if they're connected? Whatever, it's like, so it doesn't have to be this, long story arc, because like who's got the time to have a regular, like a weekly session or whatever.
Yeah.
So whenever you can find the time, just play an adventure. If you get through it, you do. If you don't, whatever. We're on to the next island next time. Who cares?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess the answer is it doesn't matter. Don't ask.
No, how do you define a campaign, Itchy Wolf?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah, there isn't
How
really
did you get into this house?
there isn't really a good answer that's going to satisfy everybody's definition, but I think I would say just whatever you call a campaign, that's a campaign.
Now you need to recycle this for a social media discussion question, see what other answers you get.
I could.
Yeah,
Maybe I will.
probably will.
Give it a couple months.
Yeah. I'll give it a little while. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our regular questions this week, but we do still have our social media discussion questions. Now, we have recently changed up how we do these, and it is more confusing with every passing week. But the previous question that we did, which at the time I thought would have some pretty good timing, but well, 2 weeks ago, I guess. Have you ever run a Halloween or just explicitly horror-themed session? If so, how did it go?
Well, first, I want to say, I don't understand why, like, Halloween is just, like, boom, done. Like, why are holidays done, like, the moment the day is over?
Can I really, agree with you on this one? Because I've got an answer to this question, and it involves an episode that we recorded to release on Halloween, and I didn't have enough time to get it done editing, and I feel terrible that it's not coming out until, the first week of November. It should be up when this episode goes live. And I'm like, why do I feel so bad that, Halloween the day is gone, and because it's going to be less than a week after, it feels like I shouldn't even release it.
Sure.
Yeah. I have so many friends that are really big into Halloween. Gabe is one of them. Yep. And it's like, it's sort of the thing to celebrate a holiday months in advance.
Yeah.
And I get the excitement and everything, and who doesn't like the fall, I guess. And so people start celebrating Halloween in mid-September.
Sure.
The same way that the second that calendar hits November 1st, it's Christmas music everywhere.
I think you live in a different world than we do. They've started setting up Christmas stuff 3 weeks ago.
Well, sure, yeah.
They're just trying to cut Halloween and Thanksgiving out of the year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there definitely is Christmas stuff at shops and stuff already, way before Halloween, but November 1st is when they start the 24-hour Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's when you don't even hide it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just wear it out. But it's it's still why isn't there sort of why isn't there some on the other side?
It's all front loaded. None of it is
exactly
is in the back.
And I get it, but why can't there be just a little residual spookiness after Halloween?
There should always be residual spookiness.
Every day is Halloween if you believe in it.
Exactly.
It's every day is Halloween in Halloween Town.
Yep. Well, do you guys have a good answer? I know that we did get some answers from you on Discord, but if you have a response you'd like to give right now.
I got to run a session of 10 Candles, which is a no prep one-shot style tragic horror game.
Oh, okay.
And that's what's going to be our Halloween special. So it was really interesting being on the other side and getting to run it. And with it being so different from our normal games.
Sure.
It was very spooky. We played it in the dark. And
Ooh.
I don't know if you're familiar with how 10 Candles is played.
Not at all. I was about to ask you to explain.
Yeah, so you start with 10 candles lit in the middle of the table. And anytime someone fails a roll, you blow out one of the candles, and it ends that scene and progresses the story.
Ooh,
and so it progressively gets darker, and with it being a tragic horror game, everyone goes in knowing that no one is going to survive.
Huh. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, once the last candle's been blown out, it's sort of everyone's final death scene essentially. And so anyone that's left alive gets their last hurrah. They can choose to go out in a blaze of glory, or however they choose to go. But once the last candle's out, everyone has to die.
Sure.
Yeah, like the key mechanic to 10 candles is that those 10 candles are tied to the dice pool that you have for succeeding on your rolls. You have to roll a 6 on a d6 to succeed a roll. So, and it happened very much in the episode that we'll be releasing of our actual play for it, that it snowballs, because once you start getting under a certain amount of dice, when you're down to that last candle, you have 1 d6 to roll.
Okay.
And
All right.
as candles get blown out, those dice that you lose go over to the storyteller who's playing the antagonist's side of things. So then it becomes a contested roll.
Okay. Interesting.
And as for how did it go, I'm not someone that is particularly into like scary stories or scary movies.
He got real scared.
And there are some outtakes of me yelling at one of our players. At one point, I turned to them and said, "I'm going to punch you in the face," because he was making creaking sounds. And we played this we started at 10 p.m.
Yeah, it was pretty late.
It was dark.
Pretty dark.
And we did turn off all the lights. There are pictures that'll go up with everything. So it was getting dark, and it was dark outside.
We set off the fire alarm.
And it
with
went
the first candle we blew out.
But it did go great as far as it told the exact kind of story that I feel the game is meant to tell.
That's really cool. So, Caitlin, the one that you ran is going to be the episode that you guys are putting out soon?
Yep.
It should be out when this episode goes live.
Okay, awesome. I'm really looking forward to listening to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll send you a link if you want to put it in your show notes, or if people just come over to adventuresinarelia.com, they'll be able to find a link to this episode.
Sure. All right. I've run a couple horror themed sessions. I usually do around Halloween, especially with like my library games. I try to have some sort of spooky thing happen. And then of course it's on our Patreon, but we did a session of the Terrible RPG that was horror movie themed. So I think that went pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know how scary it was, of course, but I thought it was a fun game to play.
And the only adventure I've really ever DM'd for is Chapel on Eclipse, which is spooky.
Yeah, well, you did that that one that was Halloween.
I always
themed.
forget about that. Yeah, last year for Halloween, I completely forget about that every time.
We were characters that got turned into their Halloween costumes.
Right. Yeah.
So we got a few responses on over on Facebook. Colin W says, last year we did an evil one-shot for Halloween. After we decided we had to dial back the evil after trying to burn down an occupied church. It was a fun campaign where we ran a few skirmishes at 5th level, then time jumped to 12th level, then to 20th level for a battle against angels.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
There you go. Sounds like that's a campaign right there.
I think the saying that escalated quickly. Can you tell we're married?
Then Dean A says, I have ran the Minds of Madness 2 Halloweens in a row for different groups. This year we're doing a modern apocalypse one-shot at the local library, but I'm probably not going to have a home game since it's not my game night next week. And this was a little before Halloween, I think is when he posted this. Adam B just basically tagged a bunch of other people that I'm guessing were in his group, and then they all chimed in and said that it was a lot of fun. So good job, Adam B.
I hope all of them followed your Facebook.
I hope so too. That would be pretty cool. Over on Reddit, we just got a couple. Scottish Unicorn Clan said, haven't ever run a horror themed campaign, but always play up the scares for specific monsters in our regular campaign. Giant spiders normally get heart rates up if I get into describing the clicking sounds of the legs and or the webbed up lair in which they dwell. See, I think it doesn't have to be Halloween to have a horror themed game.
Yeah.
You just need a spooky monster.
Yep. Giant spiders.
There you go. And then Pruno says, running Curse of Strahd, best 5th edition adventure by far. But in my homebrew Detroit game, PCs went to Feywild and the Unsullied Court for the Juggalos Dark Carnival.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Centaurs chained for merry-go-round, deep-fried pixies on sticks, and trolls wearing Juggalo makeup. All for a coven of hags with their ringmaster, a shadow demon. I mean, that just sounds like a regular day here in Detroit.
Oh, sure. Right.
We did not get anybody on Twitter, but on Discord, Adam B. actually again said,
oh, there's the candles. I see.
Yeah, Damien actually put up this picture of the game you guys did with the candles. And then, but Adam B. said, yes, last weekend for a player's birthday, I ran a horror-based campaign. The result was 5 extremely jumpy players, lots of tension, and a scream at the final big bad evil guy. Super happy. Note to anyone wanting to do this, atmosphere, build-up, and immersion all help. And then he added, and knowing the fears of your players.
Sure.
So I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Hey, quick survey. What are your fears? I'm not going to use this in any way.
Reason.
Collins B said, the last 4 years I've run Halloween one-shots. I first wrote a plot hook for my DM, and that took place in our campaign where we fought Spooky Ookie, a pumpkin demon. The next 2 years, I ran Saw-inspired one-shots, and just last week, I ran the DM's Guild adventure Weekend at Strahd's for Studio 76. The experiences varied by how in the players were. The first year, the players were more focused on other stuff in the campaign that we didn't even get to the Halloween stuff until 2 hours into the session. The following years were much better because one-shots are much more risk-free and easier to allow yourself to have fun. And Collins even posted a link to the Studio 76 Weekend at Strahd's game, so I think you can watch that.
Cool.
Deborah Soar said, I like filling rooms with nightmare gas and make the characters go on scary drug trip adventures.
Okay.
Well, there you go. You can do that any time of the year.
Okay.
Depending on the availability of the nightmare gas.
I suppose so. Yeah, that nightmare gas, you got to order it a while in advance. And then just one more. Peace Joy Pancake says, I haven't run a whole horror-themed session, but that hasn't stopped me from having some parts of an adventure be scary or creepy. So yeah, it doesn't have to be, an explicit, the whole session doesn't have to be horror-themed, but, a little bit of horror never hurt, I think.
And I definitely feel that a good piece of advice for that in any holidays.
Absolutely.
One-shots are great for holiday episodes
absolutely.
or holiday sessions.
Yeah, because you can just go extra crazy with it because, you don't have to worry about... Because if you do like one-shots with like newer character, like with just like a fresh character or something like that, then people are more likely to do something fun and like a little off the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got lots of ideas. For characters that like... I would never do in an ongoing campaign, but yeah, a holiday one-shot, sure, I'll play this weird joke character.
Sure.
See how it goes. All right, and then our next question is going to be, what is your favorite role to fill in an adventuring party? I feel like I've had this as a question in the past, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'm still interested in hearing what people say. Jeff, what is your favorite role to fill in an adventuring party?
Definitely in my later years as a player, whatever role is needed.
Yeah,
but
that is a valid answer.
Yeah,
I understand that, but I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Earlier on, I feel like I was more the bruiser type.
Sure.
I like to either a tank or just like a tank or barbarian, sort of like a fighter barbarian or a paladin or something like that. Somebody who's like can take a lot of hits and can dish out a decent amount of damage.
Sure.
I like to play that role usually.
Okay. I might add on to this if you have to choose one. You can't. I mean, I'm not trying to single you out.
No,
just because that's the answer I would give.
Right.
If I could say anything.
Yeah.
What about Damien and Caitlin? What do you guys say about this?
I'm actually really enjoying. I think I've found my spot recently in our epic campaign where I'm a ranger, but I'm really playing up the ranger part of it.
Okay.
And I've been going hunting and bringing back deer and It drives one of the other characters crazy because she's all like, not the cute little animals.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But, anytime we have downtime, I'm like, I'm gonna go tracking and find something for us to eat.
Sure.
And it's just like a little subset of being a ranger and, having such a high skill with the bow that has been really entertaining for me.
Okay. Damien, what about you? When you get the chance to play, what is your favorite type of role to fill?
See, before you altered the question, I was going to say just being a player. That's one of my favorite roles in an adventuring party.
Sure.
But to give a more serious answer, because I have gotten to play before,
Sure.
and we have a side campaign that we play every couple months. I get to be a player in. I like being a face character, actually. I think one of my favorite roles to fill is not necessarily the guy that's like trying to be the boss of everything, but I'm a DM. I like role playing. I really like talking to NPCs and kind of getting more of the story out of people.
Sure.
Yeah. So like it's the role that like somebody like a bard, who plays like a bard would fill. Like the more like, you're gonna be
a celestial warlock.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. That's definitely a really fun role to play. I would probably say, looking back at all the characters I've had the most fun playing, I probably enjoy the debuff character. Some of my favorite characters have been like either clerics or fighters, but the part that I liked the most is when I get to like lock an enemy down and I get to make it so that everybody else can do their thing easier because the enemy can't do anything. I think that's what I like best.
Yeah. There was character I played a while back that I built her specifically for just to be the support.
Sure.
Like in everything, like, giving advantage here and there or buff here and there. She was like a bard wizard.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted like all of her things to be, to be helping everybody else out. And then I think I was also playing her as sort of like the face character because I had a very silly voice for her, and I just liked doing the voice. So I was like, at any moment I got to talk to a NPC or something. I was trying to talk to the orc horde to get them on our side.
Okay.
So I was just a little old halfling lady trying to get orcs to do what she said.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm looking forward to seeing what some of our listeners have to say in the future. But that'll do it for our questions for this week. So we're gonna, before we close out, I guess let's wind down a little bit. Let's relax. Let's take a deep breath, or a yawn in Jeff's case.
Yep.
I guess let's remember those who have come before us, who have given their lives so that we may have a better place to live in, or possibly they died because their significant other was the DM and they were overcompensating. As we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. So this week's funeral pyre story was submitted by Colin W., and it goes as follows. Colin says, I have a pseudo funeral pyre story only for the fact that the DM was merciful. A group at my office started Lost Mines today, and in the very first encounter in our first session, in the first combat action, my wizard, Reese, was taken down to 0 HP by a critical hit. I rolled 2 successful death saves and smugly remarked that things will likely work out. My next roll was, of course, a 1. Followed by a fail on my last death save, because a natural 1 counts as 2.
Oh, right.
Reese's life began to slip away until the DM took pity on me, and instead made it a grievous injury, costing me a permanent loss of a point of constitution. If this act of divine intervention on part of the DM disqualifies this as a funeral pyre entry, I have a feeling this character will have another funeral pyre story soon enough.
Right.
And so we raise a glass to the future. Clink. All right. Well, I would like to once again thank Damien and Caitlin from Adventures in Aurelia for coming on the show. Thank you guys so much. We've had a great time having you. Hopefully you had a good time being on the show.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great to be here.
Cool. Would you like to tell our listeners once again about your show, where they can find you, anything else like that?
You can find us at adventuresinarelia.com. That's ERYLIA. And come get some nice 5e actual play action in your ears. And if you'd like to come hang out and chat with any of us, you can reach us over at adventuresinarelia.com/discord to join our Discord server.
All right. Awesome. Okay. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere to download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes. Speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. And until next time...
Funny quip here.
There you go.
That's the best one yet.